Alec Baldwin is being charged criminally with a New Mexican statute under involuntary manslaughter for accidentally shooting and killing tragically a cinematographer on the set of Rust in 2021. Now, the issue here is that Baldwin's defense is, I had no idea that this firearm went off. I didn't do anything in order to make it go off. He said that in George Stephanopoulos. But here's the deal. The way he's being charged with this homicide offense is this. The definition is involuntary manslaughter consists of manslaughter committed in the commission of an unlawful act not amounting to a felony. Nope, it's not that. Or in the commission of a lawful act, yes, acting using a prop, which might produce death. A gun could do that in an unlawful manner, without due caution or circumspection. So in order to get to involuntary manslaughter on the criminal level, you have to be engaged in something that you have to be basically acting in an unlawful manner because the way you were doing what you were doing rises to a criminal negligence standard. The definition of that, if you look at the jury instructions under the crime he's being charged with, is this. Criminal negligence is actually conduct which is recklessness. That's a higher burden that the state is going to have to prove here. And recklessness in this case means a wanton or willful act. Now, the actual jury instruction that is going to apply in this case uses this one standard that's going to be very, very difficult and a high burden for the state to meet. They have to prove Alec Baldwin did some act that killed someone. Got it. No one's debating that. But everyone also knows it was an accident. The question is, was his actions using a firearm in that manner criminally reckless? Well, they've got to prove that Baldwin acted with a willful disregard for the safety of others. And now in this case, everyone is saying they called out a cold firearm. They said that this thing wasn't loaded. But the question becomes, was Alec Baldwin's lack of checking inside whether there was any live rounds in here before playing with a firearm and practicing his scene on set, does that rise to the level of criminal recklessness? Another issue in this case is the type of firearm, a revolver like this that was used on the set. When you cock that hammer and pull it back, you might notice that the trigger pull becomes very, very light. And so even just the slightest, even just practicing, not intending to pull the trigger, that thing's gonna go off with like 2 pounds of a trigger pull once that hammer is back. And so that's precisely what happened here, but he didn't check it first, and boom, someone is dead. So obviously an accident, obviously involuntary, but that's precisely what they're charging him with. We're not saying you committed manslaughter on purpose, Alec. We are saying that you committed manslaughter on accident, but there's serious defenses that he's gonna have here. In fact, homicide is excusable in New Mexico if when it was committed by accident or misfortune, well, it was here. And in doing some lawful act by lawful means, practicing with what apparently he considered to be some kind of prop gun or a firearm without live rounds, when used in with usual and ordinary caution without any unlawful intent. Well, there was no unlawful intent here. I think everyone understands that. But the question is going to come down to this very nuanced thing, whether the fact that Baldwin didn't check before acting, whether that act right there, not even necessarily the shooting or the unintentional shooting, but whether not checking a firearm before using it on a set rises to the level of not using usual and ordinary caution. So that's the issue in this case, but it is going to be a very high burden for the state to meet because everyone knows this was an accident, and whether an actor in Baldwin's circumstances was using usual and ordinary care is what this whole case is going to come down to. Obviously, someone is dead, so there's going to be a good argument on the other side that no, any reasonable person should have checked a firearm before playing with it, before practicing your scene.